Welcome back to the LCS Proving Grounds 100 Thieves Academy versus CLG Academy, and a pretty dominant game one coming out of 100 Thieves Academy. We saw some great stuff come out from the roster. Kenby was extremely active. His counter jungling was beautiful. Tenacity, some of the best team fights ever. However, on the side of CLG, right now what they need is a mental reset and think this is game number one all over again.
Yeah, thank you, Alorum. We gotta go back. Score is 0-0. Everybody just reset. We're playing best of one. We just happen to be playing, 3 best of ones back to back to back. It's just how League of Legends works these days. So, I'm curious to see how CLG want to adapt, because there is a lot to adapt, to be entirely honest. It's the kind of thing where you will look really good or really bad with their composition. And again, don't make yourself work so hard. Right, you are trying to take these wins. You're trying to have an opportunity to go through it. As we go through, like, it starts off, this is 3 minutes in the game, right? Keel has flash. He just shows up a level down, and there were like 2 spots where we looked at it as maybe CLG aren't trolling us, and then they just lost, right? Like, they realized, oh, this fight doesn't actually work. And the only thing we can do is get fights where we have some access to Luger. But by the time they did that, it was a little bit too late. And I hope to see CLG pick something a little bit more cohesive, have a stronger game plan going into it. Because I think 100 Thieves, they won and they looked pretty decent doing it. But there are lots of places where if they weren't as far ahead as they were, they could have given the game back to CLG.
But I think none of that comes out from their carries, though. Taking a look at Luger and Demonte, a lot of their positionings in these fights was great. Of course, not that one. The end was able to get towards that back line. This is one where CLG Academy was able to get some footing into this game. But for the most part, Demonte's shockwaves were on point. Luger knew how far to stand to stay out of the bullet time and was able to be unchecked in a lot of these fights. Like, you do have to give a lot of credit to 100 Thieves in being able to position their carries quite well. But overall, like, it is one of those that hurts. It is one of those where it's like CLG just really needed to play better in that one, because it didn't have to be this much of a stomp, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot that CLG can do, and it starts in the pick and ban, right? There's a lot of things that they can change up. Maybe you don't second pick Nocturne. Seraphine was good, but just like, Seraphine is not a champion that you just pick in isolation. It's like, all right, we got Seraphine, we're good. It's something that needs to be built around, but it's also very easy to build around a Seraphine. There are lots of things that work well with it, and I'm not sure that 100 Thieves will be giving it over again, even though it wasn't particularly impactful this time. It's still something that would have worked very well into the 100 Thieves Academy roster if it had a more sensible composition around it.
Yeah, Seraphine first pick, like it. Everything else was kind of touch and go. Honest, I'm going to be a little bit honest here. It did feel kind of solo QE to me, just grabbing whatever you're comfortable with, which can work from time to time, but in this case, like, you just didn't have that team synergy. You just didn't have a composition to face 100 Thieves Academy, who did look much more pristine, played a much more standard comp. The way they worked out, every champion played the role it was supposed to play.
Yeah, I think that's really big, right? We look a lot at how teams tend to operate, and, I sometimes talk about, being the 1st through 5th player on a team. The 1st player tends to be your big carry. They tend to be very flashy. They tend to give them a lot of resources. And then you have your 5th player on the team, who's just kind of also there to just fulfill whatever it is that the rest of the team needs. So it was kind of interesting to watch 100 Thieves play through that lens this game around, because Luger, who is typically a larger part of their team, was absolutely their 5th player. He was just there to play like Sneaky, sit in the back line, hit champions that he can, and he did that pretty well throughout most of the game. And it really allowed, their 1st through 3rd players in Tenacity, Kenby, and Demonte to kind of do whatever they wanted, because they knew that their rest of the team was going to be doing their jobs.
Oh, if you want to talk about enabling, I see that more out of Tenacity than anyone else. A lot of those fights, he was fearless. He popped the World Ender and was just regenning for days when standing in the front line and absorbing that damage. So he was the enabler. The enabler was definitely Kenby, though. He got Tenacity going in the first place. But that is the type of play you want to see from 100 Thieves. You want to see Tenacity and Kenby work together as a cohesive unit, because they have such good synergy when it comes to that top side of the map.
Yeah, you always got to have those enablers in your life, man. Just being able to do everything back to back. So I don't know. I want to see something different from CLG. I don't know what that needs to be because CLG have shown that they can play through the bottom lane pretty heavily. I wonder if this means if you do get a Seraphine putting it into the mid lane against Damonte, where RJS can play it, so that they can pick a stronger bottom lane. Like, Seraphine is good champion, right, but is not very strong early on in the game. It means that you can't really punish any of the early games coming out from the bottom lane. And if you're going to be playing up against Luger and Poom, who have been one of the better bottom lanes in Academy this split, you got to make sure you actually have the tools to do so.
Yeah, and you said it. They're one of the better bot lanes. You know, Luger's been the Turkish terror. He's been, ever since coming here, it's been some pretty good results for 100 Thieves Academy. You know, even though it is third place, that is still high up, ranked between 10 teams that are supposed to be the prodigies. You know, the next one's coming up when it comes to LCS. So the team's been raised well, and that's what makes me excited about 100 Thieves. Papa Smithy's been raising those boys well.
Papa. Here we go. Doing a good job. Well, I'm excited to see how 100 Thieves Academy is going to be playing out the rest of the series, right? We are moving on to Game 2. We got Champion Select coming up pretty quickly, and I think it's a matter of just kind of doing more of the same. There's a couple small things they can clean up in terms of some of the small decisions they were making, but as long as they play the game that they just played, run it back, they should be pretty happy with how it all shakes out.
All right, so we're about to get into the draft, and this is where it's going to get interesting. I want to see how CLG Academy adapts. They've adapted before. They had 2 rough tournaments. They came in like monsters once again. Can they find that second wind as we head into draft?
Well, they are going to be on the opposite side of the map, so that's a decent first start here as the Kai'Sa ban comes through once again. And they banned Kai'Sa, Tom Kench, and Hecarim last time around. And we'll see how similar the bans remain, because Gnar is the first ban, and Lilia Tristana were followed up for 100 Thieves last time.
Definitely a little different for CLG. As I said before, they really do like having the blue side, and they've always first picked the Kai'Sa when they do have the blue side. So now it does look like they're changing things up a bit. They're also going to ban away the Thresh, deny that away from Pume, do not give Luger a lane that could be strong and enable him, as we were saying earlier.
Yeah, I mean, the Thresh also is effectively a ban against Aphelios as well, something that Luger has had some success with historically. So I kind of like this a lot, but it's a question of, you know, you still have a lot of really powerful picks. Do you handshake the jungler? I think something that hurt them last time was the fact that they gave over Udyr and didn't get Hecarim in return. And so now with the Seraphine banned, it opens up a lot of these junglers, and 100 Thieves are just saying, you can't ban Udyr or Hecarim because we'll ban the other one, and then neither of us are going to get a really good jungler.
So just waiting for those bans to see how they're exactly going to play that one now. What jungler is going to be banned? Excuse me, CLG Academy goes straight for the Udyr. One more ban to come out of 100 Thieves. I'm still itching for the Hecarim to be the one that's banned out here.
Yeah, I think the Hecarim makes a lot of sense, right? Like, Hecarim and Udyr, best 2 junglers on the patch in terms of professional play. Ban out one, you can ban the other one out so that neither team gets it, and instead, 100 Thieves are going to give it over, and Keel's like, yeah, give it.
I mean, it's a great early game jungler. It has a lot of presence on the map, so Keel very happy to grab that. Let's see what the response is. You still got the Tristana up, so that's a likely take for 100 Thieves Academy if they want to go for it, but instead, gonna take the Renekton over for Tenacity.
Okay, well, I don't think Renekton's a
Renekton
bad champion, right? Like, Renekton clearly has a lot of strengths, but it is kind of showing your hand really heavily pretty early, and so they are going to go with the Renekton Italy. We saw this from TSM earlier today, and it didn't go particularly well, to be entirely honest. So now, 100 Thieves are going to see if they can actually pilot this pair of champions. It is still a very strong pair, and you're going to make whatever it is that TN likes to play rather miserable, but you do actually have to play around it. It is not enough to just pick these champions and say, hey, we got it, we got a strong pair. You got to play to it.
Now the next pick to come out of CLG, they realize Tristana is still up, so they're going to grab that. They're getting a lot of early power picks on this first part of the draft. See what they're going to round it out with, because this is looking much better than what the draft we saw in game number 1, Jimshi.
It is. They're already getting, as you said, 2 very strong champions on the patch, and this is part of why I'm not super thrilled with like Renekton Italy early on in these drafts, just because they are good champions, but they aren't great champions, and you have 2 great champions already in the Hecarim and Tristana and the Orange, so you not only have 2 very good champions and one pretty good champion, but you also have a cohesive strategy later on in the game. You already have this front-to-back style team composition with engaged tools, with good damage, and this already makes way more sense than what we saw the first time around, whereas 100 Thieves Academy, I mean, it's cohesive, but it's harder to execute, right? You have to play towards the top lane. You're now going against Renekton versus Ornn, which is fine, but it's not going to be some kind of blowout matchup, and so it is just making your life hard as the Alistair gets picked up for Poon.
I don't think it's that much harder to execute, though, just because, you know, Renekton and Italy, they're very simple kits that work in very simple ways. If you're able to land the spear, you get to go in, get a lot of burst damage. Renekton, just slice and dice in, be able to get that stun. If you can free up the Alistair, too, he has a very simple kit that does very simple things, locks up crowd control. If he can roam, he can be a monster, he can be a menace. That being said, I still like the way the drafts are going both ways so far. More bans coming through, Braum and Set taking off the Rift.
Yeah, I think the big thing that I'm talking about in terms of like execution, like it's easy if you are in the right place to press your buttons and do that, but you have to be in the right place. Whereas CLG Academy are fine doing nothing for 30 minutes, and you're like, okay, so we both just farmed up for 30 minutes, and I now have Hecarim, Tristana, Ornn, and you have Renekton, Italy. Good luck. Whereas 100 Thieves Academy are forced to push the tempo, and they can do it. We've seen lots of teams try and fail at it, and I think 100 Thieves are good enough to make it work, but it is, you know, they are the beatdown. They are the ones who need to make plays. They are the ones who need to push the tempo, and I like the Sivir, because Sivir Alistar work well as a combo, and again, we already touched on the Sivir cannot be played into Alistar. So you have lots of tools to actually get some of these fights started, but the team fight is not as good. You are once again looking at a mid-game style of team fighting. You're trying to fight around Dragons 2, 3, maybe 4 in order to be really strong in the Galio, potentially coming out for Deus at this point, looking a bit reminiscent of what we saw from TSM in their game 2.
But I still like it from 100 Thieves because it doesn't need that much investment to start coming online. Like, you really don't need to be that far ahead to get control of the map. So it's still a comp that works well, but it still has those issues that you were mentioning earlier. Galio getting locked in, I definitely like that as well. You know, you can get a lot of map presence and a lot of defense. It pretty much gives you a very, very beefy front line for Tristana to be able to hide around. And one more hover coming out from CLG Academy, just hovering over to Rise. We got 2 seconds left, and they are going to go for it.
I really, really like the CLG Academy composition, right? This is the kind of thing where you have a game plan, you just wait it out, you come in, and you have a big opportunity to get big leads. Now, the question is, are they going to be able to get there, right? They're not very strong early on in the game. Their mid-game is okay. Whereas if you look at 100 Thieves Academy, they are very strong early on. They have a lot of tools that are going to be coming online as early as like level 1 and 2. As the Victor comes through, it also limits the ability for CLG to dive in, but it is still a champion that is strong early on. And so this is a game where 100 Thieves, they're making their lives a little bit harder. That is probably a better composition if both teams play perfectly, because you are strong early in the game, you make proactive plays, but it does require you to make those proactive plays. So I like 100 Thieves Academy, but CLG, definitely easier to play.
Yeah, 100 Thieves, they have to be on the move for sure. And CLG Academy, they're a team that, when you look at the UGP Giant Slayers and all those other tournaments, they're a team that's really good at developing a passive lead. If 100 Thieves do nothing, that can be the situation right here. You could get that passive lead, get into that late game scaling. So the pressure is really onto 100 Thieves in this case.
It is. And I like the fact that this Galio Tristana comes through. Like, this lane actually can be aggressive against Luger and Poom. Katsuri and Hooks did not have a great game last time, but they were also just kind of passengers in the game in a lot of ways. They were just trying to throw out ultimates at good times and ultimately missed a whole lot of them. But now Hooks is just going to be following up on what Keel and Tien are doing. He's just going to be pressing R after Keel presses R, and then suddenly you have a lot of crowd control. You get everybody locked down at the same time, and it allows a lot of damage to come out from RJS and Katsuri. So we'll see if they can get to the point of the game where they're allowed to do that.
So here we are, ready to go on to the Rift. CLG Academy versus 100 Thieves Academy. I mean, if it goes the way as game number 1 and 100 Thieves are able to put on a similar performance, this should be a clean sweep. But CLG, they've really fixed up the draft this time. It should be an interesting flow to see how this plays out on the Rift.
Yeah. Again, I just kind of want to preface this because we talked about it ex post facto previously. 100 Thieves are either going to look really good or really bad this game. simply because they need to make these plays, and if the plays go well, they will roll over this game and will probably be done by around like 25 minutes. If they don't find that lead, it's going to be much more difficult for them to play it out, and if the game goes past that without 100 Thieves having a significant lead, they're just going to kind of roll over, try and make plays. Maybe they find a couple picks to stall it out, but it probably won't be enough. So kind of keep that in mind. 100 Thieves are going to be either really strong or just kind of here in this game.
So taking a look at the starts, it's going to be a blue buff start for both junglers. So you're going to get that opposite side pathing again. And, you know, to be expected. When you run the Renekton Nidalee combo, that is where Nidalee wants to end up at. Get a little pressure up there, especially before Ornn starts getting tanky, because he can start getting those itemizations. He becomes very, very hard to kill.
Yeah. And I really like this coming out from Damonte. Like, look how much damage he's already done to RJS, and it is still level 1, right? This is one of the things that Victor's really good at, because his Q, 1, it's just a point and click, right? You just do damage. 2, it gives you a shield, and 3, it makes your next auto attack do more damage. So you get these really strong trading patterns coming out from Victor at level 1, and it doesn't really let up for the first couple of levels. So RJS forced to use a W to even buy space and not continue to take more auto attacks. He's going to have a little bit tougher time just playing in this lane. So we'll see if Damonte can build up a lead or if he just ends up trading health.
Now, Kenvi being on the Nidalee, it always kind of excites me a little bit, just because, like, if you've watched Kenvi in amateur scene before even he was a part of 100 Thieves, he was always part of those, like, collective of players that I called the Nidalee Sins. The ones who just played very, very fast, heavy, and would just counter jungle, would go for the early ganks. It's very action-packed, and it has kind of made me a low-key fan of Kenvi in that right, so I'm still hoping to see a lot more of that play come out.
Yeah, we see him on the top side. Junglers, again, on opposite sides of the map. So we potentially see opposite side plays, but instead, Katsuri Hook's going to cheater recall. They push in wave 3 with the cannon wave. They get it underneath the enemy turret, and it allows them to back away while the wave is still meeting in the middle. They get a small item advantage, usually like a longsword, maybe some boots, and they come back to lane with the extra gold, with the extra resources. And it's going to be matched here by Luger and Poom, but the big thing about why Katsuri and Hooks are happy about that, they get to lane first, and they get to decide what they want to do with this wave, because their opponents can't interact with it because they're still walking.
But meanwhile, look at Poom. He is making his way out of that lane and trying to look for a roam. We already saw that partially come out of Hooks, as he was able to assist his jungler with grabbing the Scuttle Crab, but Poom will just roam out and use the time he can to try and get out some deep wards, maybe just spot out where the pathing of Keel could be coming from. Not really finding too much else other than a spent Scuttle Crab, so he's happy to just head back to lane.
Yep. Alright, trading back and forth. I mean, this is kind of what we were saying about the Renekton, right? It's got good matchups. It's a lane bully into most things. But the degree to which you're able to bully them differs significantly. So Renekton into Ornn, because Ornn has that unstoppable, and he can trade back during Renekton's trade pattern, he struggles a little bit, right? Renekton relies on dashing in, stun, Q, dash back out, but Ornn can trade back during that, so it's harder for Renekton to get any kind of lead here. We're kind of seeing, as you said, a small lead kind of coming out for a lot of CLG's members, as Damonte no longer able to freely push around his lane opponent.
Yeah, RJS is starting to take it to Damonte. Damonte's getting lower and lower, and this is going to allow RJS to just really push this wave in, get it shoved, and it even opens up Keel if he wants to go deeper and try and find some counter jungling of his own. It's hard being said and done against a Nidalee nonetheless, but it's always nice to have that lane priority and know that you have the flexibility of your mid laner being able to roam out of there.
Yeah, and this is big, right? Like, RJS just having control of this lane like this is going to be way more free to push things out and continue to scale up, right? He's already got a CS advantage. He has opportunities to bring Keel into his lane and potentially dive. And he's also Ryze. He's not the greatest roamer in the world, but he does it pretty respectably. And building up this early priority is going to reward CLG with this early Cloud Dragon. So already, this is like night and day from game 1. And I'm really hoping that CLG can continue to play out this game. And we're still waiting for 100 Thieves to do something with the first 2 champions that they picked for themselves.
Yeah, they have a high-paced composition,
Nice.
and it's CLG who's pressing the pace. They'll find an easy first blood in the mid lane onto Damonte.
Yeah, And this is kind of what we were saying. 100 Thieves, they still have time. The game is not over yet, but they're getting played upon, right? 100 Thieves are not necessarily doing anything in Kenvi. Hello?
They're going after Kenvi. He'll be able to hop out. He's fine. Kitty Cat's not getting caught today.
Yeah, but why? Anyway, so they're going to be able to pick up this crab anyway, but now Kenvi's here. Poom is looking to potentially come top lane, but it's going to be hard to find anything. And, you know, hey, stopping kills back. Fun.
Just being a menace.
Yeah, he's there.
He's grazing. He's a cow. Leave him alone. He'll do his own thing. And part of doing that own thing might be focusing over on this top side. Puma's here. Going for the engage. Looking to find the Yen. Call the Forge God is going to be used. Will this get turned around? CLG are able to show up to the fight. Kill will be able to help the Yen be able to grab one kill, and that's going to turn it around. 100 Thieves, they're not having the same momentum as they had in game number 1.
Yeah, remember what we were saying at the very beginning of the game. 100 Thieves are going to look either amazing or pretty awful. And this is one of those situations where they opted into trying to make these plays. They first picked the Renekton mid lane, saying, we are going to carry the game through this lane, and now it's almost not possible to do it from that position. You are giving over so much gold, you get baited, and it's part of why this combo is gotten worse as time has gone on. People start understanding how to play against it better and better, and you aren't able to play around it as easily, and we're starting to see big leads starting to go over in CLG. So we'll see if 100 Thieves are able to find something. The game's not over, but it's very difficult.
Ooh, Pume looking to come into the mid lane, going after RJS, who falls very, very low, but Pume will fall with them, and now it's getting returned. Kill able to show up on the tail end, turn it into a 2-for-1.
Like 100 Thieves has to do stuff like this, right? They have to go for these plays because they do not win from this position. So the risk tolerance changes. You have to go for things that you don't think are as likely to work because they are a better chance at working than you have at winning the game. And at this point, their odds of winning the game are so low that you just kind of take whatever seems plausible from this position. They got to try and do something, and DeMonte, now coming down, gonna get caught.
Keel's turning it back off here instead. It's going to be 2 of 100 Thieves to be able to chase Keel away, so it stops the potential for the dive over there down in the bot lane, and buys 100 Thieves a little bit of breathing room. You definitely want that for Luger, who has been struggling a bit against Katsuri, getting that CS lead over time. Meanwhile, on the top lane, you still got that showdown going on between Thien and Tenacity, but definitely not the results that Tenacity was looking for.
No, not at all. He's a little bit behind. We see this once again, right? Like, 100 Thieves has to make these plays, and CLG knows they have to make these plays. So they see somebody, Keel immediately pulls off from moving towards the bottom half of the map, runs toward the mid lane, and Poom, like, he already dies in the 3v1. So that's not good. Kenvi ends up taking a couple turret shots, and it makes it worse when Keel shows up. And now it's the opposite side of the coin. CLG, from this position, should be looking really good. 100 Thieves, they had a cohesive composition about playing towards the early game. That window is closing. Now they have to continue doing things. I'm trying to figure out what their best options are, because it's not this, whatever that was.
Tenacity needs to bluff that a little bit better. See right there, Thien was like already ready to be able to stop that stun from coming through. Tenacity, try and time it, and I'm pretty sure he could score a kill up there and he can get some relief going, but now that's completely gone. Thien's able to get his recall and teleport back in, but RJS is the one looking a little caught out. He returns fire, and Kill is looking to finish off the job on this kill for Kenvi, but the onslaught of shadows is going to go wide. Kenvi will stay alive, and Tenacity is looking to turn this one around, able to get the stun on to kill. RJS still returning fire. Shot after shot, spell after spell, gets Tenacity quite low, but not low enough to net another kill for CLG.
Yeah. I mean, it's very hard for 100 Thieves to do anything. Keel just whiffed his ultimate completely, and it doesn't matter, right? Like, 100 Thieves can't capitalize on it. And down in the opposite side of the map, like, Katsuri is building up a lead up against Luger just because this is a very tough matchup for Luger to really do anything. So it's going from bad to worse right now for 100 Thieves, and we'll see what they can do from this position. They gotta go for crazy calls. They gotta do crazy things. but they gotta, like, you gotta be smart about your crazy. They haven't done that yet.
I wouldn't even call them completely out just yet. I mean, they still got a fighting chance. A lot of the tools you have for these like neutral objective fights are very useful. Damonte can zone out a lot of people with that gravitational field, and of course, On the Hunt makes it easy for 100 Thieves to be able to scrap in a lot of these fights and go back and forth. That being said, though, it's still a gold lead to CLG Academy. They're still the ones in the driver's seat right now, and it's up to 100 Thieves to be able to find that play I was talking about before that time ticks too far.
Yeah, but I mean, the question I have, Eric, is how do you kill Ryze and Tristana? Right? We're starting to get reasonably close. You know, it's still probably like 10-ish minutes where Nidalee, Renekton, and Alistar can't do it anymore. Right? And that's just without any peel coming in from Kiel, Tien, and Hooks. Right? Tristana and Ryze will just be strong enough to do it on their own. And, you know, you can not die, right? Sivir, Victor, as I already identified, very good at stopping plays coming in from CLG. But, you know, it's not enough to just not lose. You have worse Siege, you have worse Poke, and now this fight, not a lot happens, but you still crash a Herald.
Call the Forge God goes out. Herald is going to find the crash and send a bit of that gold out. Now, turret plates were still available, so very much a worthy cash in if you are CLG. And CLG still controlling the flow of the game. They grab the scuttle, Dragon is now up, and they are very willing to contest it.
Yeah, we'll see CLG likely move towards this in just a sec. Tien doesn't have his ultimate nor his teleport, so he doesn't really need to be here, but they picked up the Scuttle Crab earlier, so they're going to know if 100 Thieves move towards it at all, and I think CLG will probably wait a minute or two, wait for their big buttons to come back up, and then they can look to come in for this fight, or they just kill Damonte first.
Ooh, kill charging in straight for Damonte. Damonte getting stuck between that creep wave and pretty much treated like a creep right there as RJS is able to take him down and now set up the siege on this mid lane tower and open up the rift.
Yeah, that Rift Herald crash paying off right now as they are going to be picking up another turret for themselves. Gold lead will continue to expand, and it should give them freedom, right? We talked earlier about the importance of having the inhibitor turret in order to bounce waves off of. The mid lane turret, this first mid lane turret, even more important for setting up for these objectives, right? As long as you have a mid lane turret, your opponents can't necessarily get enough priority to easily push out that wave and come over to objectives. But now that the turret is down, you can. You just push the wave past the river, and it'll keep on going, and it'll demand pressure or demand people from your opposing team to respond to it. CLG looking like night and day. Once again, it really is counter logic.
That it is, Joshi. Now the rest of CLGA, they're starting to head towards this dragon area, but so are 100 Thieves. Might be looking for some sort of skirmish over here. Katsuri clearing the wave, getting that lane priority, forcing as fast as he can so he can get into that positioning. But he's still got some vision coming out for 100 Thieves. You still have a lot of people from 100 Thieves that they do want to fight this. The answer might be no. Going to the mid lane right now is Damonte. CLG hooks as well as Kiel. Headed towards that side as well, just in case RJS needs any backup. But the coast is clear. Time to do the Drake.
Yep. This is what we said, right? RJS just pushes it up, denies any opportunity for the members of 100 Thieves to walk through the mid lane, and going to be able to secure this relatively freely. So, second dragon going over to CLG. Katsuri just holding down in the bottom lane, and again, they don't need to make plays, but I do want to praise Kiel for his ability thus far to be relevant, right? He did not look good in Game 1, but this game, he's been a driving force of a lot of the kills that CLG have picked up, 2-0-2, and a lot of that has been just his willingness to prey on Damonte.
15 minutes into this game, it's still CLG's game in their hands. They have a 2K lead. Not too much, but they've been slowly growing it over time, already acquiring 2 Drakes. They've already put down the Rift Herald, claimed the mid lane tower. They're just being very surgical and precise with the way they play this. One win at a time, not really overstepping for more, knowing that that plays into 100 Thieves' wheelhouse.
Yeah. And we've kind of seen, again, like, 100 Thieves haven't really tried to do anything top lane. This is the first time Kenvi and Tenacity could potentially go for a play, and instead Kenvi going to be backing away. I think he probably has his Night Harvester complete here in just a moment as he backs away. He doesn't, actually. but almost everybody else is starting to pick up their mythics on the side of CLG. And this is just going to be a big difference, right? League of Legends, item components, pretty cool. Full items, really cool. They do a lot.
Get that full item build, get that damage in. Now 100 Thieves, they're still working their way around the map. You still see a lot of vision being set up, but again, you were saying, Joshi, they're not really doing anything. It's still CLG's game. They're still the ones with forward positioning. You see that on RJS right now, clearing out the wards, clearing out the waves, getting the leads. Taking a look at CS right now, you can see a CS difference between RJS and Demonte. It's starting to add up more and more. Same thing with Katsuri and Luger. And those are the carries of this squad. Those are the members you want to be doing well, and they are doing well for CLG.
Yeah, and RGS is so strong, he's starting to be able to just pick up these Raptors off on the side. His CS lead over Demonte should get much larger here in the near future, and it looks like CLG want to try and pick up his Herald fairly soon. It is going to be spawning about in the next minute, and they have plenty of members here. Tian on the opposite side has teleport. Steps 1, 2, and 3 done. Now the question is, are they actually going to try and fight over it, or are they still worried about 100 Thieves being really strong? We do see a couple completed items starting to come through, so I think it would be pretty reasonable for them to not take this fight, because they are the scaling team.
They do look a little bit worried. They have been backing off and allowing 100 Thieves a lot of way to just set up these wards and kind of set up for these objectives. That being said, though, 100 Thieves haven't been able to grab one, and they know there's a lot of pressure to be able to grab this next scuttle. Rift Herald, even.
Yeah.
As they try and get the vision there. I mean, you got a lot of control wards established. They have to want to fight for it, but look at Hooks. Hooks is deep into there. He's Secret Agent Hooks looking to show up right now as he goes after Poom. Poom will not find the pulverize. Kill shows up just to clear the ward.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised by Hicks' positioning in this position, right? They don't need to look for fights, but I guess they won't say no if 100 Thieves gives them one in CLG's favor, so, you know, Hooks just posturing around, waiting for people to swing by, and getting that extra vision control will be helpful in the long run. So, you know, ultimately, all said and done, CLG scaling comp, 3,000 gold ahead, 5-1 in kills, up every single objective taken so far. So I think this is a really good highlight of what happens when you go into a game with a composition that you know how to execute on. When you have a composition that power spikes at the same time. When you have an idea of what your composition is supposed to do, and you don't have to make plays, right? You don't have to do anything. You can just calm down and let your opponents outplay themselves.
Saying it like it's a calm game of golf, even.
Yeah, everybody had a nice clap.
Just played slow, steady. Eventually you win the race, and it's looking that way for CLG. You still haven't really seen Kenvi be able to do too much on this map so far, and it's a lot of pressure onto him to be the one who starts up these skirmishes, even when it comes to the lanes, when it comes to pretty much anything for 100 Thieves. But now they're more towards that team fighting phase, and it's not looking good for 100 Thieves. They don't have something that team fights too well. They do have something that skirmishes well, but if CLGA are all together as a full unit, they take the fight 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. And the question is, you know, 100 Thieves, they can try and get flanks. It's actually a way for them to win, right? If they are able to knock Katsuri or RJS into the team with Poom's Alistar, and you blow them up quickly, you know, that is one way for them to win some of these team fights. But if you just team fight front to back, Katsuri and RJS will kill Tenacity, Kenvi, and Poom faster than the Monty and Luger will kill Tian, Keel, and Hooks.
So 100 Thieves, they're the ones who get priority onto this Drake. They're the ones that started off, but have to back off. Just going to pull it out of the pit for now. 4k health remains. Keel's getting closer. Teleport's being used. Here comes Call of the Forge God, able to get a knock-up onto Poom only. Keel going for the backline. The Dragon is going to reset, but Luger's been on check so far. Keel having to back off immediately, but he will fall to Tenacity. It's now a 4 versus 4. Hooks starting to back off as well because he is getting lower and lower. That Dragon is wailing away, and it's going to go over to the way of 100 Thieves. Now Hooks has to flash away. Tenacity on the engagement. Will take down Thien as well. CLG are going to be the ones to falter in this team fight as 100 Thieves, they grab the Drake and they get 2 kills.
See what they can do. This is really big for 100 Thieves, but this might be their big opportunity to try and have opportunities to find these fights. And they do come out a little bit ahead, and that is really big. They need to continue trying to find these opportunities. And if they can play for the next several Ocean Dragons. If they can get the next 3 and have Ocean Soul, you know, they can do that, but it's going to get harder and harder throughout the rest of the game. So I'm curious to see where 100 Thieves go from here. Are they going to be able to pick up more of these objectives? Are they going to be allowed to do this kind of thing? CLG try and get an opportunity to dive into the backline, but unfortunately they go a little bit too far. Their backline isn't in a spot where it can actually follow up on the damage just quite yet. And I said the backline for 100 Thieves will take longer, but you got to actually be doing the DPS. And this is an opportunity where Kenvi kind of showing up really big, getting the smite down, and keeping them in the game for a while longer.
And that was a pretty rough exchange because you see, like, the small things that went wrong. One of them being hooks. He chose to use the hero's entrance in the middle of Onslaught of Shadows when it was on nobody. So just a lot of those small things going wrong. Keel couldn't get onto Luger. Luger was left unchecked. 100 Thieves were able to play it very slowly, but they did net a win at the end of the day. And now CLG are trying to look them pay, but Poom wants them to pay back. Suri gets knocked up. Poom really throwing out some aggression there. It's not going to result in any kills, but Tenacity is going to be the one who's caught out now. Using the Dominus, tries to slice and dice on out, gets a lot of health back going for him as the Yen continues the chase, has to back off thanks to the gravitational field. 100 Thieves stay alive.
And we're starting to see some of the things come out that you talked about, Eric, right? We saw there are still ways for 100 Thieves to disengage from these fights. They are pretty mobile. They have a lot of movement speed coming out from Luger. Demonte's gravity well will be very effective.
Wait, what's going on?
But they're not necessarily able to close out any kills. And Kenvi now on the opposite side of the map as the Baron's getting taken. But they have enough members there. They don't have a real tank because Tian's on the opposite side of the map. We'll see what else they can do. I mean, it's still just rough, right? Like, CLG can just hit it. We talked about it with the Elder Dragon previously. You hit the Elder Dragon, or the Baron in this case, not because you're trying to kill it. It's just to see if your opponents are going to respond properly. And I like CLG's willingness to hit it there and then walk away.
Hit it there, walk away, and try and set up another play. That's what you see over on the top side as Keel starts to come in, goes right after Kenvi. Gets a good chunk of damage, but not going to find anything else after that one. 100 Thieves are playing this carefully, and pretty smart of them to play it this way, but you can't keep it neutral for far too long because we kept talking about the scaling. It is still a factor.
Yeah, they're hitting again. I mean, this isn't particularly quick, right? Only having the rise here, but Kenvi does notice that it is being done, notices that they leave as well immediately afterwards. So I mean, CLG can kind of rinse and repeat this play, right? They are just waiting to see if there's a lapse. 100 Thieves, right? If 100 Thieves don't check it, then they will eventually take it down. They have scaling on their side, and by doing these proactive plays, even if they aren't necessarily going to work, their willingness to walk away buys them a lot of time.
Now you can see all those wards placed by CLG Academy. It's all on the Baron side. They know the next fight might be around there. You don't want to give too much up, and you really want to make sure that 100 Thieves, if they go for any other objective, if they try and contest Dragon Soul Point, if they spend too much going bottom, try to catch out a split push, they will be very fast to go for the objective.
See, I mean, Tian doesn't have teleport, so we have another Ocean Dragon spawning here pretty quick. I don't know, I feel like I want 100 Thieves to try and make something happen because it doesn't get better. I don't know where their entrance is because we're starting to see CLG choking them out with vision pretty much everywhere they go. 100 Thieves are now pretty isolated in terms of trying to do things, and now Keel has the engage tools. They might start looking. Tian's here.
It's RJS who's taking the first bit of damage. Here comes Call of the Forge God going straight for the backline. Demonte's going golden to stay alive. Kenvi has to run away. Demonte will flash to keep himself alive. And 100 Thieves, they keep doing it. They keep playing these fights as touch and go and barely being able to escape very, very close situations.
Yeah. Part of the difficulty, though, is CLG has a composition that fights well even without its ultimates. You have such a strong front line, right, between the Ornn, the Galio, and the Hecarim, You like your ultimates because they're really good at getting fights started. They don't need them as we finally see Poom go in.
Oh yeah, Poom able to get RJS, but Poom will be retaliated on. Falls low, Katsuri will take him down, and now able to flash out will be Kenvi, who's also low, but Kill will jump in and get some damage onto that back line. 4 members remain for 100 Thieves, and they're starting to dismantle CLG. Look how low those health bars are, but a teleport, a new challenger has appeared. RJS able to show up and absolutely destroy Damonte. Tenacity goes in, but look at that, the boomerang blade just on the back end, able to take him down. It's still Kenvi versus the world, though, as he will hop over the wall and let CLG have this team fight win.
Yeah, it's crazy, like, watching how well 100 Thieves are able to play these team fights with a worse team fighting composition while down 5,000+ gold, right? The fact that these team fights are taking as long as they are, and 100 Thieves have a reasonable chance coming out with them, is really testament to how far they've come so far over the past several weeks. And now the question is, did they just fall too far behind? Is their composition just too weak in this position to do anything? Because now RJS, Tien, Keel hitting the Baron in a very similar spot. Hooks might have overextended trying to buy time.
Going after Hooks, Damonte is going to be able to show up. Call of the Forge God goes out. 1k health remains onto the Baron. Looking for the spear. It will not be found. Baron going over to CLG Academy.
Blue buff goes over. I don't know. CLG looking very strong. They are looking totally in control of this game. And as we start to look towards Game 3, Eric, it's really crazy to see how different these two games have been. CLG looking really good this game. They have a game plan. 100 Thieves, like, they get onto RJS, right? That's one of the things that we said they can do in order to try and win some of these team fights. And even still, it's just not quite enough. Katsuri is able to free hit throughout almost this entire thing. But then he eventually does get caught by the Boomerang Blade, gets hit by a couple of skill shots, and we see, like, the fact that CLG's composition still able to fight without their ultimates. They like their ultimates, but it's not quite enough.
I'm sorry, that boomerang, man.
Boomerang.
That's one of the saddest things to see, especially when you're in that same case that Chisana was in. Katsuri just watching it slowly approach him.
Yeah. Feels like Indiana Jones, right? You got that ball rolling towards you. There's not a whole lot you can do, and you're just kind of like, I got caught. All right. Okay.
Now, will anyone else from 100 Thieves Academy get caught out? Because CLG are making the Baron power play right now. Going straight down this bot lane, wailing away at this turret, and look how fast it's going down. 100 Thieves, they don't have much of an answer to it. Their comp is pretty much offline at this point.
Yeah. I mean, they almost get the whole thing. Keel going back to get the Baron buff onto the mid lane turret. Get a little bit more damage there, but it's a question of how cleanly do CLG close out this game from this position. Right, they are able to hit these turrets from long range. They have this strong tank line to create a lot of space for RJS and Katsuri. Inhibitor going down, and 100 Thieves, they have to try and find something, but they're looking for a miracle. They gotta find some big play. Maybe if Poom has another miracle play onto Katsuri or RJS, they can buy another team fight, but they haven't taken enough turrets that they can find a meaningful advantage even if they win. They only prolong the inevitable.
Sivir still is a strong champion and can do a lot of damage onto the backline thanks to the Boomerang Blade, thanks to the Ricochet. And
Nice.
Keel looking to go in here. A nice use of the Hourglass from Damonte. It's not going to amount to anything, though, as he's going to fall. Now Luger trying to get in those autos, trying to find the kills he can. Going to result in killing the top laner. Does look like 100 Thieves are the ones who want to press this. Just chase CLG Academy right out of the base.
All right, well, they stay alive, right? They get the kill onto Tien, but CLG got what they wanted. They got 2 inhibitors. They opened up the base, and now with a minute left until the Ocean Soul spawns, 3 minutes left until the Baron, the inhibitors will still be down. CLG in a dominating position, continue to scale up as Ornn items are starting to come in. You see the Everfrost and the Kraken Slayer both have been upgraded already by Tien, and the scaling, the extra gold being put into their pockets, this gold lead is actually a lot larger in effect due to the fact that Ornn is on the team than you currently see on the scoreboard. So CLG should be able to close this out. We got past the 25-minute mark, and CLG are looking really good because of it.
Most definitely. And even with these strong champions you have picked on the side of 100 Thieves, like, what are you going to do with the 0-4 victor? Damonte has been struggling. Luger hasn't had exactly the best game. He's positioning well. He's gotten a few kills here and there, but it's nothing in comparison to the momentum CLG have right now, working for pretty much all their lanes.
15 seconds. 0-4 victor. Gonna have to try and do something, right? I mean, again, my eyes are on Poom. He's got to find a way onto Katsuri or RJS, but RJS isn't even here. I think his team is probably strong enough to win a 4v5, but they just need to buy time, right? They aren't looking to actually go for the fight. They just want to DPS the Ocean Soul. They get it, and now they can try and take a fight.
Ocean Soul is grabbed. 4v4 fight that 100 Thieves are not willing to opt into. Still have Damonte on the top side. He provides a lot for a team fight. He's having to deal with the split push of RJS as the rest of CLG Academy, they clear minion waves and they start heading for the base. An inhibitor down in the bot lane, inhibitor down in the mid lane. There's only one that remains to get those double super minions marching into the base of 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I'm thinking about game 3 right now, Eric. Because it is, like, Poom wants to find a hero play. Other than that, I don't see a real way for 100 Thieves back in. So looking at game 3, right, it is 1-1, effectively, from this position. What do 100 Thieves do differently? Because I think what we've kind of been seeing throughout the series is if you pick compositions that are harder to execute on, it's tougher, right? Like, that is how hard to execute compositions work. You have to do the big things, you have to make the big play, you have to move around the map proactively. You can't let your opponents just sit idly by. And I think it's kind of going to be one of those games where both teams are going to say, we are going to try and pick something that scales a little bit better. We're going to try and play for a little bit later on in the game and force our opponents to make plays. And I'm kind of curious what that ends up looking like if both teams opt into that. We haven't seen that in a long time.
No, we have not. Just push the pedal to the metal, go fast right away. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. Oh.
Well, you can't get behind it. It's disengaged right here. CLG Academy going straight after 100 Thieves. Poom is critically low and will fall to Katsuri. Tenacity trying to find RJS, but there's not much he can do when RJS goes golden. A slither of health gets chunked away. The double kill going over to Katsuri. Katsuri's trying to find more. He's going to make it the triple kill. He's going after Luger as well. Can't seem to clean it up just yet, but he's getting closer. He's getting closer. You can hear the Jaws theme song being played. Here comes kill, and there goes the kill. This is going to be a win for CLG Academy, making this a series.
And a huge difference between games 1 and game 2. This is, you know, a huge opportunity for CLG to show Tien just kind of chilling. At some point, he will start taking damage from the fountain laser, but I guess he doesn't. Like, the game just ends before that even happens. And so we are surprisingly taking ourselves to a game 3 as 100 Thieves gonna have an opportunity to try and bring things back. And I think, again, it comes down to, you know, if we're picking these compositions that are hard to execute on, you are committing to actually executing on them. So the Renekton Nidalee hasn't worked twice today. Does that mean it's a weak combination? No, it just means it's a harder one. And we'll see if any team is willing to do it again and actually try and make it work.
All right, Joshi, you were saying that, like, you know, you were very, very disappointed with CLG's play when it came to game number 1. It looked like a completely different team in this game number 2. They performed so well in pretty much all levels. I mean, the draft looked better for one. Let's start with that.
Good.
I mean, grabbing the Hecarim right away, able to grab the Tristana as well, and then everything else just synergized so well for CLG Academy.
The draft was miles better. Their early game play was miles better. They were willing to make some of these plays. We saw how RJS was able to turn things around onto Damonte. We saw their ability to counteract the Renekton Nidalee, right? Like, this is almost a different team. And this is the team that was able to make it to Proving Grounds. This is the team that we all signed up to see, and I want to see more of this version of CLG because, like, this is the team that is going to take us to a series and potentially go farther in Proving Grounds.
Yeah, they're in a team that's adapted. It took them two tournaments to find their stride, but now that they found it, I mean, this is third place in Academy right now, 100 Thieves Academy. CLG last one to enter this tournament, and here they are having a clean game against 100 Thieves Academy.
Yeah, they are.
What more could you ask for, man?
A game 3 that's even more exciting. So we're gonna get that coming up pretty soon, Eric. Again, we have an opportunity. We can either have both teams play for really strong early games, or both teams can play for scaling. But so far, no team that's really been trying to play for the early game has had a whole lot of success today. So I'm excited to see which of the two options we're going to be getting to actually watch in Game 3.
Yeah. We'll see how that draft shapes up. We're going to be right back when we return. We'll get into game number 3 of CLG Academy versus 100 Thieves Academy.